Hello and welcome to Pitboards and Podiums with me, Maya Westwick. In today's episode, we are going to be doing the track guide for the 2024 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So buckle up and let's talk F1. Alright guys, so I'm going to give you all of the information that you need ahead of this weekend's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We're going to start with timings, I'll do a bit of stats about the circuit, talk a little bit about last year's race for a bit of context, and then I am actually going to discuss a little bit of the kind of politics going on in Formula One at the moment, because in case you've missed it, since the Bahrain Grand Prix last week, there has been a lot going on around Red Bull, around Mohammed Ben Sulayem, the president of the FIA, and it is all information that could affect this race weekend. It's definitely going to be talk of the paddock this race weekend. It's going to be brought up on the Sky broadcast. I'm going to kind of get you up to date as of when I'm recording this on Tuesday. I'm going to get you up to date with what's going on. Obviously, when this goes out on Wednesday, it will be media day in Saudi Arabia, so I'm sure more information will come out then as well. But this is everything ahead of the weekend starting. But I'm going to get onto that afterwards. I want to do the actual information about the track first, because I feel like that's, the most important part. Formula One, at the end of the day, is about racing. It's just there's a lot going on behind the scenes at the moment that can distract from that. So I'm going to start with timings so that we all know what is going on. Like last weekend, this is not a typical race weekend in terms of, qualifying on Saturday, race on Sunday. They've moved it slightly earlier so that it didn't clash with Ramadan potentially. So obviously now that we're closer to Ramadan, we know that it probably could have been on the Sunday anyway. But just in case, they moved the race to the Saturday. So on Thursday this week, we have got free practice 1 at 4:30 local time or 1:30 p.m. UK time. And we've got FP2 at 8 p.m. local time, 5 p.m. UK time. Then on Friday, we've got FP3 at 4:30 local time, 1:30 p.m. UK time. And qualifying at 8 p.m. local time, 5 p.m. here in the UK. And then Saturday we have the race, and that will start at 8 p.m. in Saudi Arabia, which is 5 p.m. here in the UK. The Grand Prix is taking place at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. It will consist of 50 laps around the street track. It is a 3.836 mile circuit, which is 6.175 kilometers, making it the longest street track in Formula One and the second longest circuit overall on the current calendar. There are 27 turns, 11 to the right, 16 to the left, and 3 DRS zones. We've got the main straight, we've got from the exit of turn 19 through turns 20 and 21, which aren't really corners, and from the exit of turn 25 as well. The race distance is 191.817 miles or 308.7 kilometres, and the first Formula One race in Saudi Arabia was held in 2021. The race lap record is held by Sir Lewis Hamilton, set in 2021, which is a 1 minute 30.734 second lap, and the qualifying lap record is also set by Sir Lewis Hamilton in 2021 with a 1 minute 27.511 second lap with an average speed of 254 kilometers an hour. Pole position can be found on the right hand side of the track, which is on the outside down to turn 1, and the start line to turn 1 distance is 220 meters. 79% of the lap will be completed on full throttle with a maximum speed of 330 kilometers an hour or 205.052 miles an hour. The average pit stop loss is about 23 seconds, and the tyre compounds available to the teams are the C2, C3 and C4 tyres. So not the 3 hardest compounds available to the teams as it was last week in Bahrain, but the 3 middle compounds. So last week's medium tyre is this week's hard, last week's soft is this week's medium, and then we've got the soft tyre that's not been used yet this year. With it being a street circuit, it is of course a circuit that there's very little room for error, as we have seen over the years. And obviously, it doesn't just mean that, yes, it's very fast. It also means that if you make a mistake and you go off the track, you're going into a wall for the most part. The majority of the track doesn't really have any runoff areas. It just has walls and barriers. So we've seen it before. Max Verstappen did a qualifying lap that was lauded as being this incredible lap if it wasn't for this mistake he made, because going into the final corner of the lap, he hit the wall and then couldn't complete a very good lap, even though the rest of the lap before that had been very, very fast. Obviously, in 2021, we had the infamous incident of Max Verstappen brake testing Sir Lewis Hamilton. So this isn't a track that's without any sort of controversy. It's not a track that is necessarily boring, but a lot of the drama and entertainment for the track hasn't really come from the racing itself necessarily. It's just come from incidents that potentially shouldn't have happened, but you know, it is what it is. I'm going to talk a little bit about the 2023 race, same as I did last week with Bahrain. I'll give you a bit of context about the finishing order, you know, qualifying, all of that sort of thing, just so you can kind of start to gauge what to expect based on last year's performance, and then we can start as the season goes on and we kind of know a bit more about how the teams have developed from last year. We can kind of start putting things together about where we think people are going to be. So last year was actually won by Sergio Perez. He had a race time of 1 hour, 21 minutes and 14.894 seconds. Max Verstappen was in P2. He finished 5.355 seconds behind Perez. He also got a point for fastest lap with a 1 minute 31.906 second lap, the average speed of which being 241.838 kilometers an hour. Then we had Fernando Alonso in P3, 20.728 seconds behind Perez. So both the Red Bulls ran away with it last year still. Then we had George Russell in P4, Hamilton P5, Sainz P6, Leclerc P7, Esteban Ocon P8, Gasly P9, Magnussen P10, Tsunoda P11, Hülkenberg P12, Zhou P13, De Vries P14, Piastri P15, Sargent P16, Norris P17 and Bottas P18. Bottas finished a lap down. He was the only driver to have been lapped. Albon and Stroll both did not finish the race. Albon DNF'd on lap 27 and Stroll on lap 16. So the qualifying order for the race was impacted ever so slightly by penalties. So in terms of people's lap times in qualifying, Perez was on pole with a time of 1 minute 28.265 seconds, and then Charles Leclerc was actually in P2 in terms of his lap time, but he had a 10-place penalty for taking additional power unit elements outside of his allocation, so that meant he had to start the race from P12. Then Alonso started P2, Russell P3, Sainz P4, Stroll P5, Ocon P6, Hamilton P7, Piastri P8, Gasly P9, Hülkenberg P10, Zhou P11, Magnussen P13, Bottas P14, Verstappen P15 after he went out of qualifying during Q2 with an issue with his drive shaft, Tsunoda P16, Albon P17, De Vries P18 after he span in Q1, Lando Norris P19 after he clipped the wall at the final corner and reported steering damage, similar to what I said about Verstappen's lap from a couple of years ago, and Logan Sargent P20, who didn't actually qualify for the race, but the stewards allowed him to take part. The 107% time last year was 1 minute 34.974 seconds, and Sargent was not able to set a lap time within that because he had an issue. He had track limits. Even at Jeddah, where the majority of the track limits are walls, he had a track limits violation on his first attempt, he span on his second attempt, and then had a technical problem on his final attempt, so he didn't set a representative time. So that's a little bit of context about how last year's race and qualifying went. I think it's definitely a circuit that if you take a big risk and it pays off, it really pays off. But equally, if you take a big risk, you could very easily ruin everything for yourself. So it would be very interesting to see who pushes the limits in qualifying and in the race, who maybe makes mistakes, or who maybe the handling of their car lets them down and they end up in the wall. I think it's definitely not going to be a race without incidents. And now onto the behind the scenes politics going on in Formula One. Just things to consider. Don't let them be like the forefront of what's going on this weekend, because at the end of the day, we're there for the racing, but it is going to have some sort of impact on the sport, so it's worth you knowing about. So first of all, Red Bull Racing. In my season predictions, if you listen to those, I predicted that Red Bull would implode this year. I did not expect it to kick off so early into the season, and I didn't expect it to kick off in the way that it has. I thought, the team's going to fall apart. I thought that in terms of everyone leaving. I did not think that as in terms of some sort of internal coup, and I did not expect Max Verstappen to potentially be leaving. So let me tell you what's gone on. bearing in mind, as of right now, this is all alleged, it's rumours, it's speculation. None of this is confirmed legally, so I'm not saying this is fact, so take it with a pinch of salt. But this is what's all in the media at the moment. So, allegedly, last year, Christian Horner attempted to buy Red Bull Racing without the Austrian side of the company knowing about it. So Red Bull's ownership is split 51% Thai, 49% Austrian, and Christian Horner approached the Thai side of the ownership, who do support him and have supported him since all of the accusations about him have come out and everything. He approached them with the financial backing of like a British consortium in an attempt to buy the team and basically imitate with Red Bull Racing what Toto Wolff has done with Mercedes, with his own ownership, as well as being in charge of the team. He also wanted to oust Helmut Marko, who is very, very close with the Verstappens and helped Max get into Formula One. Obviously, Helmut Marko is very influential in terms of the Red Bull Junior team, and quite a lot of drivers currently on the grid at some point owe something to Helmut Marko. So with Horner trying to oust Marko, obviously he's not happy about that. The Verstappens are not happy about that. So Jos Verstappen, Max Verstappen's dad, former Formula One driver, also accused assaulter, but not relevant to right now. Jos Verstappen and Helmut Marko decide to take Horner out, and they think, no, we're not going to have this. In the background, on the 2nd of February, the CEO of Red Bull, I believe, like the parent company of Red Bull, because Christian Horner is the CEO of Red Bull Racing, the CEO of the parent company, I might have the wrong person here, but I'm pretty sure it was the CEO, tried to fire Christian Horner because the allegations that came out in the media about him recently and this inappropriate relationship that he's had, and crossing these boundaries, and the woman who was so brave to come out against literally the CEO of the company, this has been going on internally already. So Red Bull tried to get rid of Christian Horner, and Christian Horner said no. Now, the fact that he is able to say no to his own firing shows that he is incredibly powerful within the company, which makes the abuse of power even worse. And also kind of makes you wonder, why is he able to say no to that? If the CEO of the parent company has tried to fire him and he said no, and the CEO of the parent company's gone, okay, why is that? It does make you wonder. Maya's speculating now. Does he have information that they don't want getting out? Because he's going to know all of the dirty secrets. We know that Red Bull has not been playing by the rules. That has been factually proven already with the cost cap and things like that. We know that Red Bull has not been playing by the rules a lot of the time. So how much do we not know that Christian Horner potentially, I'm speculating right now, how much do we not know that he's gone, okay, you fire me, I tell everyone all of this. And they've gone, actually, do you know what? We don't want people to know that. Might not be the case, but that's how it's looking to me. That's all I'm going to say. So he's already survived an attempt at getting rid of him. So Jos Verstappen and Helmut Marko go, okay, we've not got rid of him that way. This hasn't got rid of him for us. So we're going to go to the Dutch media, bearing in mind Verstappen is Dutch. We're going to go to the Dutch media and feed them all of this that's going on, this inside information, because once it's out in public, once it's out in the public domain and people know about it, people are going to be outraged, rightfully so. People are going to be outraged. So these men have decided to take this woman coming forward and being so brave and putting so much at risk. They've decided to take that and use that to their advantage to try and get rid of Christian Horner, which I am not a fan of. Because of the leaks as well, because of the Google Drive being leaked, everybody knows who she is now. And her privacy has been completely invaded without her consent, once again. But that is a separate issue, but I'm not happy about it. It's also been revealed that Max Verstappen, in his contract, has an exit clause that means he is allowed to leave Red Bull Racing immediately if Helmut Marko leaves. Immediately. Not at the end of the season, immediately. Marco has said he will not stand in Verstappen's way if Verstappen wanted to leave. Jos Verstappen has been running his mouth to the media in the last week, saying, basically, while Christian Horner's there's all this tension. Christian Horner stays, that means Max Verstappen goes. So behind the scenes, it is falling apart. It's falling apart massively. Then at Bahrain last week, Jos Verstappen and Toto Wolff were seen talking. Toto Wolff was asked about it and said, you know, anything's possible. Because the media were like, is Max coming to Mercedes for 2025? Toto was like, who knows, anything's possible. Is that just very good PR? Because that makes Mercedes look desirable for people to want to go and get the Mercedes seat if they think that Max Verstappen might be in the running for it. It also puts pressure on Red Bull because they're going to lose their world champion, their current world champion, if they don't get rid of Christian Horner. Who knows? Could be trying to force a hand there. Could be a genuine conversation because he doesn't want to be there anymore. We're not privy to that. We don't know right now. Then it also turns out that over the weekend in Bahrain, the president of the FIA, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, during Free Practice 3, was meant to be having this discussion with Christian Horner about what had been going on. And when we first found out it was happening, while it was happening, everyone was like, okay, brilliant. The FIA is stepping in. They then come out of the Red Bull garage together, hugging each other. And to the media, Mohammed Ben Sulayem basically says, forget it happened, just ignore it, let's focus on the racing, blah, 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 rather than holding Christian Horner accountable for his actions and for what he's done. Allegedly. And it's come out that because of all this scrutiny in the media, and because Mohammed Ben Sulayem has decided to support Christian Horner, he's then gone to Max Verstappen and lobbied Max Verstappen, allegedly, to support Christian Horner publicly at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Max Verstappen then, reportedly, said no, and said that Mohammed Ben Sulayem should be launching his own inquiry into the matter. Potentially unrelated, who knows? As of today, Tuesday the 5th of March, when I'm filming this in the early afternoon, there's a whistleblower at the FIA, and Mohammed Ben Sulayem has been accused of race fixing in relation to the overturning of Fernando Alonso's penalty at the 2023 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And it's worth noting that if that penalty had not been overturned, Fernando Alonso would have finished 6th in the championship behind Lando Norris, not 4th. Could be unrelated, but who's blowing the whistle about it? And then the same whistleblower has also come out again, revealed a little bit more that they work at the FIA, or used to work at the FIA, and claimed that Mohammed Ben Sulayem allegedly told officials to find a way to not certify the Las Vegas street circuit ahead of the inaugural Grand Prix there last year. And this whistleblower has claimed that issues were meant to be artificially identified regardless of their actual existence, with the ultimate goal of withholding the licence. Now, of course, no one knows who this whistleblower is. That's the whole point of a whistleblower. They're anonymous. It's very interesting, the timing of all of this coming out, and it really feels like we are just scratching the surface. And to be quite honest, this feels like it's more than Christian Horner, it's more than Red Bull, it's more than Mohammed Ben Sulayem, it's more than the FIA. This feels like we're digging something up here, and it's going to be very ugly, and it's going to be very big. And obviously there's been a lot of tension over the last few years between F1 and the FIA and Liberty Media and all of that. I think this is going to get very ugly very fast, and potentially more is going to come out over the race weekend at Saudi Arabia. I don't know. It's not happened yet. I think it's very much worth taking into consideration, and I think it's also worth remembering everything that's going on at Red Bull. The certainty going into the 2024 season that we had, that of course Max Verstappen's going to always be there. When we spoke about the Red Bull seat at the start of this year, it was about Checo losing his seat and someone else being Max Verstappen's teammate. At no point has the conversation been Max Verstappen leaving Red Bull, because at no point up until now have we had a reason to think that Verstappen would leave Red Bull. So this could get very, very ugly. It could get very, very spicy. And I don't really know what to expect now, because how is the Red Bull dynamic going to work when the rift is so openly huge? And how is that going to affect the races? I don't know. I really don't. But it's not looking good. I want to just say that, kind of touching on what I said earlier, I'm absolutely disgusted the way that it's been handled in terms of the initial allegations against Christian Horner. I think the way that Red Bull's handled it has been disgusting. I think the way that it's now been utilised for Jos Verstappen and Helmut Marko's gain, allegedly, is disgusting. All of it. I think it's absolutely disgusting. And I really, really hope that she is okay. And I really, really hope that she has got the right people around her at the moment and the right support around her at the moment, because this must be absolutely awful for her to be going through and for her to be seeing all of this. So, yeah. This definitely isn't the end of the story. And I don't see it getting any better the more information we find out. So let's just hope that the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix is remembered for its racing and not overshadowed by all of this going on in the background. Let's hope that maybe we get a better president of the FIA sometime soon. And let's hope that men in Formula One stop. Just stop. Because Formula One is not currently a healthy environment for women. And it should be. And it's not good enough. So, yet again, a woman has been let down by men having their little power plays. It's not really good enough. That's all I've got to say about that, really. Hopefully, this race weekend will be really good. I'm hoping. And we'll get some good action on track. And that will be what is spoken about. But who knows? Thank you very much for listening. And if you have enjoyed the podcast, please do let me know. Like, rate, comment, subscribe, share the podcast. I would really, really, really appreciate it. And yeah, I feel like it's a bit of a downer to end on, but I think it's very important that we bear in mind all of the context behind what is going on, rather than just focusing on the racing. It would be naive of us to pretend it's not happening. I wish we could just focus on the racing, but it is going on and we need to be aware of that. So yeah, thank you very much again. I will see you very, very soon. I have got some more driver profiles coming out for you very soon. And of course, I will be doing a recap of the entire race weekend as well. So have a lovely weekend and I will see you very, very shortly. Bye!